Jesus, what a friend for sinners, Jesus, lover of my soul.
Welcome to the Unknown Bible, the broadcast ministry of Bible Believers Baptist Church in Corpus Christi, Texas. Join us now for today's Bible study with our pastor, Bevans Welder.
Today we are going to deal with a very important subject matter, anger. Proverbs chapter 16 verse 32 says, "He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city." Now do you see that? He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. So the purpose of our broadcast today is to help you become the kind of person that you read about in this text, a person who is slow to anger, a person who has control over his temper. And you can tell already by reading the text here, this is a monumental task. I mean, look what Solomon says. A person that is slow to anger, a person that rules his own spirit, is better than the mighty. He's better than somebody that takes a city. Well, I'll tell you what, no ordinary man can take a city. And so he's saying no ordinary man can rule his own spirit. It takes quite a man to temper his spirit. But I'm going to tell you something, you can do it. So you're going to learn some things today, some very practical things from the Bible, some very practical things from personal experience that are going to get you in a place where you can get a handle on your temper. So we'll go right in to the points of this message. If you want to become slow to anger, then you must realize some things today. All right, first of all, if you want to become slow to anger, you've got to realize that getting control of your temper is going to take commitment. Okay? It's going to take commitment. See, the problem is there are going to be times when you're tempted to blow your stack, and there are going to be other times when you do it. I mean, but if you make this commitment, if you are resolved once and for all that you are going to quit your angry outbursts, what that resolve will do for you, what that commitment will do for you, is that it will put you in the frame of mind that in spite of the fact that you're still dealing with anger, you are going to stay with it until you get the problem solved. In other words, you have a choice in this matter. People choose to be angry. I know you often say, you made me angry, or that person made me angry, or if it weren't for this circumstance, I wouldn't have been angry. I realize all that, but the truth of the matter is, you and you alone are the one responsible for your anger, and you are the one that has to choose not to be angry. You've got to make this decision once and for all that you are going to do whatever it takes to become slow to anger. Do you understand? Do you realize the level of commitment and the resolution that's necessary here? Because once you make this decision, you are embarking on something that is really going to take you years to accomplish, which really leads to the next point. If you want to become slow to anger, then you must realize that getting control of your temper is going to take diligent work. Look in the text again, Proverbs 16:32. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. You know something? Mighty men are not born mighty. I mean, there is diligent work involved in strengthening a man until he's mighty. I mean, that's day after day after day with the gym, with the weights, with the work. A man who is skillful enough to take a city, that's a man who is trained and labored for years to learn strategy, tactics, methods, logistics. leadership skills. I mean, to conquer a city, that's not, you don't just give that task to a neophyte or to a novice and say, hey guy, go over here and conquer that city. That man that you give that task to is a man that has to know how to do it. That's a man who has gone through diligent training. By the same token, then, to get control of your temper, it's going to take years of vigilance and diligent work until you learn how to do it successfully. It's not something that comes to you overnight. And it's for this reason that a lot of men don't, or a lot of women for that matter, don't get control of their anger. It's too much work. It takes too long. It's too much of a commitment. It's just easier to blow up and blame somebody else. Well, I'm going to tell you something. There comes a time in your life where you're going to have a hard time having any more friends because you cannot control your anger. And the problem with anger is you always choose the most convenient target, usually somebody that you're close to, like a family member or a spouse, usually somebody that already knows you're an angry person, and so you may be mad at something totally different, but you're going to bring that thing home and you're going to blow up to your spouse or to a family member. And I'm going to tell you something. Some people just say, well, I'm just going to keep on doing this. I don't want to go through the level of work and the level of commitment that it's going to take to fix this problem. I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to tell you something. You can do that, and there are probably people that will continue to play along, but it's a miserable life. It is a miserable life. And so I'm going to tell you the next thing that it's going to take is getting control of your temper is going to take honesty. It's going to take honesty. The Bible says in Proverbs chapter 25, verse 28, he that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls. He that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls. That means every little thing that can get to you. And if you like living that way, where you get hacked off about every little thing, every time, then go on and live like that. But I'm going to tell you, there came a time in my life where I decided I don't want to live like this anymore. I cannot live like this anymore. I don't want to do this to my spouse. I don't want to do this to my kids. I don't want to do this with my friends. I don't want to do this to myself. I don't want to do this to the Lord. And here's the deal. People who blow up usually cannot give you an honest answer as to why they exploded. In other words, what you'll do is you'll blame the nearest and most convenient target for your anger, but you won't be able to really put your finger on what it was that led to the angry outburst. You'll say, well, that person did something and I hate that and I always get mad about it. No, there are a lot of people who live with people who do those things that they don't like and they don't get angry. In other words, you've got to admit honestly that you are an angry person. Loss of temper is the way that you deal with things that bother you. But not everybody else does that. You've got to be honest. If you are going to change, then you must honestly evaluate every single thing in your life that contributes to your anger. And when you do, you're going to find out that it wasn't just the thing that person said, or it wasn't just that person that pulled out in front of you. That you are loaded up already with a bunch of things going on in your life that contribute to your angry behavior. There are myriad factors. And here are some of them. Nutrition. That's right. What you put in your body is the fuel that allows you to function. And not everything that goes in your body is good for you as it concerns your ability to control your anger. Caffeine. Sugar. In my life, sugar was the number one contributor to my loss of temper. I did not quit sugar to gain control of my temper. I quit sugar because I found out I was hypoglycemic. But when the sugar left, I began to see a trend. And over a couple of years, 3 years, whatever period, I noticed with that sugar and the change in the chemical balance in my body over time, I didn't have the fuel to fuel the anger like I did when I was eating sugar. Emotions are a factor. And different people have different emotional being about themselves, the way they react to things. Stress, major factor in getting control of your temper. Rest. Sometimes you don't sleep enough. Your thought life is a contributing factor, because a lot of people go back and think about depressing things, but they don't want to admit to anybody they've been thinking about that stuff, and then when something else happens, they just blow up. Your attitude. Some people have road rage, and the very fact that they get behind the wheel of a car and start the engine and drive out of the driveway, they're already jacked up. Habits, things that you do in your life, have a contributing factor to how you respond to circumstances and people. Miscommunication will oftentimes fuel anger. Fear, big contributing factor. Sin in your life. How about this one? Self-righteousness. I'm right, you're wrong, and I'm going to beat you down until you admit that I'm right. Self-righteousness. Circumstances. Just too many things coming at you from too many different directions, and you get jacked up, then you explode. How about this one? Expectations. Well, I thought it was going to turn out this way, and it didn't. Now I'm mad about it. Here's another contributing factor. Loneliness. Hatred is another one. Pride. Manipulation. In other words, I use anger in order to get you to do what I want you to do. Manipulation. Let me read through this list again. The myriad factors that contribute to temper. And you've got to be honest about these, because you've got some of them. Nutrition, caffeine, sugar, emotions, stress, rest, thoughts, attitude, habits, miscommunication, fear, sin, self-righteousness, circumstances, expectations, loneliness, hatred, pride, manipulation. And that's not a complete list. But you look at that list and you compare that list with what's going on in your life, and you're going to see that you have numerous contributing factors in your life right now to your loss of temper. And it's not just the last thing that happened that was the straw that broke the camel's back when the volcano inside of you blew up. You've been carrying all this other stuff with you. Every one of these things plays a part. And you must be aware, every time you feel anger coming on, you must be aware and you must identify every single contributing factor that led to the anger. I mean, you're the only person in the entire universe that can change the way that these things affect your spirit. And so you have to make the, what do they say, the inventory. You have to make the list. You have to find the contributing factors. And remember this, alcohol and drugs are not the answer when these things affect your spirit. There are far too many people now that are on some sort of drug, legal or illegal, prescription or non-prescription, or that use alcohol in some way to calm down when they've got these things going on inside of them. And I'm going to tell you what, you cannot control your spirit and inebriate yourself with alcohol and drugs. Impossible. So we're talking today about becoming slow to anger. And if you want to become slow to anger, then there's some things you have to realize. You have to realize that getting control of your temper is going to take commitment. You've got to be determined to beat it. It's going to take diligent work. In other words, you've got a lot of work to do over a long period of time to learn how to rule your spirit. And it's going to take honesty. You have to admit and identify all of the contributing factors that keep you as an angry person who cannot control your spirit or rule your spirit. Here's the next thing. If you want to become slow to anger, then you must realize that getting control of your temper is going to take responsibility. Responsibility. Look in Proverbs chapter 27, verses 3 and 4. This relates to some degree, but it's an important couple of verses to look at. A stone is heavy, and the sand weighty, but a fool's wrath. Don't you like that? A fool's wrath is heavier than them both. Wrath is cruel, and anger is outrageous. But who is able to stand before envy? Now listen, you're the one that has to take responsibility for this stuff. Your anger is cruel, your anger is outrageous, and your behavior is foolish, a fool's wrath. You see that? You must admit that you are the one that got mad. No one else made you mad. People say, you made me angry, or that makes me angry, or it makes me angry when. Nobody makes you mad. You do that to yourself. Now, those may be the circumstances, and those may be the people who happen to correlate to the explosion of your anger and the loss of your temper and your inability to rule your own spirit, but it's not their fault, it's your fault. And admitting your fault is a terribly difficult thing to do for a man who has proud wrath. Listen, you have been using your anger to blame others and then to manipulate them. You get mad like that in hopes that you can get your way. But they're not the ones that are at fault. Not when it comes to your loss of temper and to your angry reactions. You are the only person in the room to blame for that kind of behavior. You are the fool that loses your cool. I might repeat that a few times. See if you can't again kind of get that one nailed down so you don't forget it. You're the fool that loses your cool. That's it. A fool's wrath is heavier than them both. Do you want to continue to be the fool that loses your cool? I don't think so. I tell you what, I made a decision in my life. I didn't want to be the fool that loses my cool. So what are we going to do about this? Well, you're going to have to take responsibility. You're the one that's having trouble with this, not the other people. They're having trouble putting up with you. You're the one that's got to make the changes. So that leads to the next point. If you want to become slow to anger, then you must realize that getting control of your temper is going to take change. You're going to have to change some things. You can't keep doing the same things the same way and expect different results. They will never come. You must change, and you must change yourself. Listen, it's disingenuous for you to believe that everyone else should change so that you won't be mad anymore. And that's what you've been doing. You've been stomping your feet, blowing up like a volcano, hoping that they will change the way they're doing things, and that way you don't have to be mad anymore. They know and you know that isn't going to change a thing. What you got to do is you have got to unload the lava in the volcano and put out the fire. You need to change. You say, well, how in the world am I going to do that? Well, if you incorporate these other things that we've said, that is, you take the task of the diligent work and become very honest in the contributing factors, and you own the responsibility for your behavior, then you can start making changes. For instance, if you see a tendency to get a little jacked up when you're on coffee or tea or sugar or energy drinks, yeah, I know. You don't like me going there, but you've got to be honest with yourself. You know why? Because you cannot imagine life without these drugs of choice. I realize that they are minor kind of things, but let me tell you something. That caffeine inside of coffee and energy drinks and tea, that's a drug. Sugar and the way those simple carbohydrates break down, they're fueling you with energy, but also they're getting you kind of jacked up. And I'm going to tell you, if you recognize that drinking that coffee and eating that sugar and all that gets you a little bit jacked up like that, then you need to eliminate those things from your diet. They're bad fuel for an angry person. Absolutely. Because what happens is they get you edgy. They get you a little cranky, a little hyped up. And when you're a little bit hyped up like that, for some people, and I'm talking about you, they limit your ability to rule your spirit, and little things get to you. You're slamming down the phone, slamming the door to your office, screeching out of the parking lot, all those other little things. And you have got to go in and look at the fuel that you're putting inside of there. It is a major factor. As I told you, when I eliminate sugar out of my life, that did more to help me start getting rule over my spirit. It didn't fix it by itself, but it did more to help me because I wasn't already starting behind. Okay? Now, here's another example. Let's say you're having a conversation with your spouse and you feel that your blood is rising. You know how that is? You get on one of those subjects, it's like, man, I don't want to be talking about this. You know what you need to do? Right then, as you start to feel that tension in your body, you need to stop. You need to tell your spouse, listen, I'm starting to get mad about this. And what we need to do, we don't need to ignore the subject. I need time to cool down. And when I'm cool, we can get back on the subject again. Now, a lot of guys don't want to do that because this hurts your pride. Like I'm supposed to be able to take this kind of thing. Okay, get over your pride, because that is honest communication. If it's getting you stoked up, you just tell your spouse, look, I've got to take a time out here. I gotta wait till in the morning to resume this or whatever. Or I can't talk about these kind of things after 9 o'clock at night. That's fine. Anything to help you get control and rule over your spirit. Here's another example. If you find that when you stay up late at night, you have a tendency to be more easily provoked the next day, then skip the late night show and get some sleep. You say, well, I like to watch whatever. Get over it, dude. Do you want to be so selfish that you have your way in every single thing and then make everybody else pay the price for your silly, foolish anger? Tell yourself no, get in bed, go to sleep, rest well, wake up feeling better in the morning. Here's another example. Because we're talking about the changes you need to make in order to get rule over your spirit. If driving 5 miles over the speed limit keeps you mad at the slowpokes who happen to be going the speed limit in front of you, leave earlier and back off. I've got a funny little testimony about that, but I'm going to tell you, this idea that you're going to push it 5 miles over the speed limit or 10 or 15 and run up behind everybody and try to make them move out of the way by intimidating them so you can get yourself where you're going as fast as you want to go, and these poor guys are going the speed limit already. Listen, dude, that's got to change. Just drink your little glass of milk or whatever it is that keeps you a little bit calmer. Get behind the wheel. Start earlier. Set your little cruise control. Drive down the road. I'm probably talking to people that don't realize that the speed limit on SPID inside of Crosstown Expressway is 60 miles an hour, not 75. And it's going to go a lot easier for you. I'm telling you, you're not going to be jacked up when you get home. You're not going to be ready for a fight because the slowpokes were driving the speed limit again in your lane. In other words, you must change everything in your life that contributes to the stress that lies beneath your angry outbursts. You say, well, I don't want to do that much work. Okay, then you're not committed to make the change. You don't want to rule your spirit. You don't want to be the mighty man that can take the city. You want to be the fool that loses your cool. Listen, if you want to become slow to anger, then you also have to realize that getting control of your temper is going to take humility. In Proverbs chapter 21, verse 24, the Bible talks about, Proverbs 21:24 talks about, the proud and haughty scorner is his name, who dealeth in proud wrath. You know, people who blow up to get their way and who blow up at others because they don't know how else to deal with circumstances, they're very proud people. And it's very humbling for you to admit to someone else that, hey, this blow up, that's my fault. Boy, I tell you, that's a hard thing to do. But you know what? That's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to own it and admit it and apologize for it. And it takes humility to apologize when you blow up, and then it takes humility to deal with yourself rather than the other person. And as long as you're going to keep pointing the finger at others and ignore your own problem, you will never get it fixed. So getting control of your temper takes humility. Now I want to ask you a question. Do you truly want to become slow to anger? Really? If you do, then you must implement each of these points that you heard today. You can't only deal with one or two of these things that are convenient and leave the other ones undone. They're a complete package. It's kind of like an all or none deal. You either will get control of your anger or you won't. And truly, the choice is yours. So let me just summarize this for you real quickly, and then we'll leave the choice to you and pray to God that you get rule over your spirit. Listen, if you're going to become slow to anger, then you've got to realize that getting control of your temper is going to take commitment and determination. It's going to take diligent work, and it takes a long time to become a mighty man over your own spirit. It's going to take honesty. You've got to find every contributing factor. It's going to take responsibility because you're the one in charge of it. It's going to take change. Every little thing that keeps messing you up, you've got to change it, do it another way. And it's going to take humility until you get off of that proud horse and get down there and say, you know what? I'm the one that blew up. God help you when you do.
You have been listening to The Unknown Bible, the radio ministry of Bible Believers Baptist Church in Corpus Christi, Texas. For information about our church, go to our church website at www.my3bc.com. That's my3bc.com. If you would like to contact us by telephone, our number is 361-241-6100. Bible Believers Baptist Church is a Bible-believing church located at 1701 Rand Morgan Road. If you are not currently a member of a Bible-believing church and you are looking for a church with an uncompromising stand on the words of God, come visit with us this Sunday or Wednesday. We would love to see you.
Hallelujah.